Hi, welcome back to Cheyenne, Wyoming Urban Gardener. This is Debbie. I think we're just going to do a little walking tour today of the garden, of all that is going on. So welcome back to the channel. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more videos as they come out, especially these tours like this of what all is going on in the garden. This year we had decided that we wanted to do more than we ever have done before because we will be moving from this house. The house is up for sale. So we grew in over 100 containers all around the house. We did the same last season, but we've added a lot more containers than we had before. Everything is looking absolutely fantastic. I did just go in with organic fertilizer just a little bit ago and watered it in really well. So this is the third time I've had to water. But we're supposed to get rain tomorrow and the next day. And from the looks of it, it's going to be a pretty high chance of rain, like 92%. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get rain. Look at that beautiful lettuce, all kinds of different lettuces. Cabbage, broccoli, celery, Brussels sprouts, more cabbage, more broccoli, more cabbage, Swiss chard and beets and carrots and rutabaga and the living fence. At this point, this is what I'm calling it, is the living fence, and I'm going to do this from now on anywhere that I go. And the garden that I create will be surrounded by a living fence as well as a little bit of a fence, or maybe a lot, depending on how many deer we're going to end up having wherever we go to. Our peas are now blossoming. We did plant some more squash in here yesterday. Our okra did not come up very well. We do have a couple of okra in there. You can kind of see those in the middle, right over there. And we're going to separate those here in a little bit. And hopefully if we have at least 3 plants, because there's another one there in the back, then we will get something out of this okra. This is a Clemson spineless. But we also have the shorter variety called Big Bubba, I believe. And it's in containers, so I look to see that will probably do a lot better here than the okra here. And we've got 22 tomato plants in here, mostly black Krim and Kellogg's breakfast tomato. And all of those are getting a lot bigger now. We do have some candy onions here that I had planted. Someone gave them to me. And they are getting a lot bigger. And we did add cucumbers all along the edge of the garden right here. And those are all coming up. So hopefully we'll get some cucumbers this season, because it has been a rough season to try to get cucumbers. And we did plant some more beans. I actually added another row of beans, as well as filled in some places, because I have beans when it was so wet and we had so much rain from May 14th up until just like 4 or 5 days ago. We have a butterfly. Up until about 4 or 5 days ago, we had stopped raining, but it had rained every single day, pretty much all day, every day. And we had some beans that were just like, nope, it's too much water, and they just kind of fizzled out. So we had replanted the beans. A lot of those came up. And then we still had a couple of them die off, so we went ahead and replanted again. And that sometimes is the situation that you have to add a couple of times. But the Royal Burgundy beans, those guys have just been fantastic. They're blooming right now, so they will be putting beans on pretty shortly. And I'll show you in a moment that some of our flowers have actually went to seed. And I forget the variety that it is, but we'll be collecting some seed from those particular flowers. Our beautiful hanging baskets, just full of blooms, all kinds of different pansies. And this is the particular flower that went to seed on another container, and I do not remember the name of it. I think it's not stock. And I'll have to look back and see if I can remember what the name of it is, but we'll show you the seed here in a moment on the other container. And this is a lot of the seeds that we started ourselves, along with some of the ones that we picked up. We have some pansies in here that we started from seed. Those are just now starting to bloom. And we do have some petunias in here. These are black petunias called Black Velvet that are getting pretty big. They will still take a while before they start blooming, but we should start getting some blooms soon. And another hanging basket. They're just looking so pretty. And we did have some flowers planted along the edges here. And some of them have died out because we walk through here quite often. Still have black fabric to get up. But the calendula over here are looking fantastic. They're nice and big. Our spinach that we planted recently in our rose garden has started coming up. Our roses are getting ready to bloom. Got loads of bloom heads on this particular rose. And we have bloom heads on this one. This is a peach color. I'll show it to you when it does bloom out. We need to get in here and do some more weeding again in the rose garden area because we do have weeds coming up. We have kohlrabi planted along the edges, which is looking pretty good. It's pretty young, so it's still pretty small. And here's our other hanging baskets with strawberry blonde marigolds. And again, that flower that I forget the name of right here. Hopefully I've got a tag somewhere still left behind. Oh, they're called Harmony. Purple Harmony or Pink Harmony. So that is that particular flower.
What, the Alyssums?
No, the Purple Harmonies that we picked up. We got one that went to seed and it looks like beans. I'll show you in a minute. And here along the fence line we planted a bunch of squash, beans, and different things. All of our beans are coming up. We did plant some more beans in here recently. The chickens have been in here and scratched them out. We have a different area for the chickens to get out and roam, and I'll show you that in a few moments. And it's kind of fenced in, or it's kind of a makeshift fence right now until we get the official fence up and built. But you can see our squash are doing very nicely. We've got a couple of them that didn't come up in here. This was the strawberry crown squash, and they didn't come up, so we went ahead and got that filled in a couple of days ago, and they'll come up soon. And you can see our beans here in the back, and we have more beans all the way out through here that'll come up, and these are going to be the Kentucky Wonder and rattlesnake pole beans. And we do have a few of these strawberry crown squash that did come up, so there are 3 of those there, maybe 4. And we have more squash through this area, and I thinned them out a little bit, and you can see they are looking quite healthy. And then we have more beans here in the back. All of our little containers along the fence. This is the oregano. It is getting a little bit bigger now, but it just takes a long time on oregano for it to get big, at least in containers. And some cilantro in this one. And they're getting their mature leaves now. And we have some dill in this one. I don't usually put dill in these small containers, but this was some extra that we had, and a little bit of it did bronze. It's still alive, but it just bronzed off. But otherwise, they still look really nice. Some marigolds here, and I believe that was convolvulus. Ooh, and it looks like we might have a pest or an assassin bug. Look at that. I'm going to have to look that one up and see if we can find out what it is, because I don't know all of the bugs out there. So anyway, that's all along the fence, looking fantastic. We did lose one celosia. It did dry up and die. So we did lose one celosia, and I think it just was not getting enough sun being surrounded with these other ones. And I noticed the other ones got a lot more healthy once that one did die off. So I think that is what it actually needed. Lemon mint is starting to really fill out again, as well as our other mint plants. Here are more containers. We did plant some more cucumbers in this container, and it does have, I believe, some volunteer lemon balm that came up in it. Our thyme is blooming, and our white pumpkins are in this container and are looking fantastic. And we also have pumpkins in ground. This is all over the place. And we also have yellow straight-neck squash, saffron straight-neck squash, acorn squash, and some of the acorn squash is called white queen or something like that, and it's going to be a white acorn squash. So we have a bunch of those. And this is all of our seed that we started of flowers, and some of those are now blooming, some white ones. We had convolvulus and verbena, so it may be a verbena over there. And a few other different varieties, stock, some other things, so we'll find out what they are when they start blooming. Dianthus and some fairy flowers, they call them, and I think those, I'll have to look that one back up, but it starts with an L. And here is our Idaho russet potatoes that we had sprouted inside, and I went ahead and brought them out and planted them. And they are looking absolutely beautiful. In fact, a couple of them have blooms on them already. And then some of them are still just now coming up. And then we do have some broccoli here in the back, and I did fill in for one that had died off right here. It's already up. A couple of them are pretty small. We got one really big in the middle, just how it happens sometimes. And we do have some volunteer sunflowers that have came out of the bird seed, and those are getting pretty big. One of them is in the middle of the potatoes, two of them over here, and then this one right here is getting pretty large now, about 4 feet tall. And we have different varieties of fuchsia here. I have a black fuchsia. The center of it is really, really dark purple. I wouldn't call it black exactly, but that's what it's called. And this is my original fuchsia plant. And it is just looking beautiful, filling up with blooms. More hibiscus and some more sunflowers. More hibiscus. My rosemary is here. And I have some chocolate mint plants and my floss flower. This floss flower is now 2 years old, doing beautifully. We trimmed it way back and it's coming back out. My chives have gone to bloom. Now I could collect those chive heads and make a chive vinegar, which turns pink. But I don't think I have enough of the bloom heads right now, and I do want to kind of collect the seed. So I'm just going to let those continue on out. And I'll be collecting some chives here soon to dry. And that is our rutabaga, just looking absolutely amazing. All of our carrots in here, and yes, there's some weeds in there, and to be honest, there are so many carrots, and I'm not sure if I can get in there and not trample a bunch of carrots trying to get the weeds out of there. And then we have another volunteer sunflower in there. And a lot of purslane. So most of the weeds that are in here are purslane, which you can eat with salads and things like that. There's some lamb's quarter in here. So I'm not too worried about it. It's not something that's just going to sap the strength from everything. So we've got purslane in here. Okay, big deal. And our beets and our Swiss chard are looking absolutely fantastic. Just loving how the garden's looking right now. This is right before it becomes so wild it's hard to see in here. But our lavender has just really burst into action. And I believe this one was a true lavender. I have several different varieties. And some more sunflowers. These are not volunteer sunflowers. These are red velvet sunflowers, I believe. And so we'll see them bloom soon, hopefully, because they're a short variety. More of our hanging baskets, just looking absolutely gorgeous. And more hibiscus. Looks like we have a flower to collect. And they are really filling out now. Our radishes are looking amazing. We've got all kinds of radishes through here. Basically 5 rows of radishes, and we have More squash coming up in there. Some different varieties. We planted some turnips. A couple of turnips rows. Bok choy like crazy. And peas. These are the peas, the Cascadia peas that I had left over, and the Super Snappy. So we got 2 rows of Super Snappy and 1 row of Cascadia. And they are just looking absolutely beautiful. You check out the birds on the feeders. We filled those up yesterday. And we do have some soot cakes that they're over here. Looks like I have 1 left. These guys will eat you out of house and home, to be honest. Lots of flowers all along the edge, and they are starting to really mature out a little bit. Hopefully we'll get some blooms soon on those. And kale. We have all different varieties of kale in here. And some weeds that I need to get in here and get out of here. And then we have calendula and marigolds and things like that. And cosmos that's planted along the edges here. And we just did these in bunches, so it looks a little bit neater. And then we have some sunflowers mixed in, some shorter varieties of sunflowers all throughout here. I've got my daylilies. This is the north side of the house. We've really gotten in here and cleaned out a lot of the black fabric. You can see it's still piled up over there, that I've got to take it and put it into the garbage, the trash. We've got some cucumbers in here. They're looking really, really nice. These are white spine cucumbers. And we have some squash over there. I think this is the Boston marrow squash. And more cucumbers. You can see white spine. Our peonies are bloomed right now, or peonies, depending on where you are. They are absolutely gorgeous. And this is the first year they bloomed after we planted them. And I think I planted them 3 years ago now. And we have daikon radish along the back there in a mound. And they have all came up. So I'm looking forward to some nice big daikon radishes. And we have also some sunflowers back there and daylilies. It looks like we got a volunteer Virginia creeper I'm going to have to get out of there. So we basically have squash just mixed in all over here in the north side of Boston marrow and jack-o'-lanterns and things like that. And then we have daylilies mixed in, and then we've got some sage that I planted here that's not up yet, I don't believe. And flowers all along the edge. And strawberries in our converted kiddie pool. We had some of them did not come back this year. They started to and then died off. So we have this side to fill out. So I'm just basically taking the runners, putting them into there, and then they will root. But we have plenty of strawberries still over here. They are yet to bloom because I think they just were so damaged from this winter. It's a wonder that any of them survived, because we had a couple of nights that it got to past -30 at night. And strawberries only last to about -20. And we have more cucumbers that we planted over here that just came up. Some more squash. Squash over there. And we have some more cucumbers coming up right here along the edge. And then across along the fence line to our house, we have planted more squash of all different varieties. We've got some honey nut in here as well as some butternut, and they are just now getting to come up. And then we have sunflowers all along the edges, a shorter variety of sunflower mix. And we also planted some cucumbers in there. And you can see some of our squash up and the sunflowers. We got to get in here and do some weeding again. More sunflowers, squash. And you can see all along the edge here is what we've done is just in bunches. And then in here where we have our irises, these were the yellow irises, and our daylilies. We cleaned this all out. We do have some straggling weeds in there. And we got in here and planted honey nut and butternut all over this because it is a rather large area. So we should have, and nasturtiums as well. So we have a lot of that in here. And we edged it out with flowers. We've got calendula and all kinds of other flowers in here, convolvulus, stuff like that. It's all up. It only took a few days. You can see a couple of the squash right there. And a few more right here. And a couple more over there. So it didn't take very long for those to start coming up like crazy. And we did go ahead and put them over here as well, even though it's a little bit more shaded. But they were actually the first ones up, and they're doing fantastic. And then we did plant along our fence line over here where it's really shaded. We put some nasturtiums because I've had a lot of success with that. And we even put a couple of squash over here just to see what they would do. And they are up. Here's our potatoes that we put over here in this little circle section. And they are doing amazing. As well as our potatoes in the main part of the garden. Our Yukon Golds and Kennebecks. They're actually getting ready to bloom. One of them bloomed, looked like today. And they're getting blooms on them. Just looking amazing, and so is our corn. This is the early Sunglow hybrid. And it is just filling out like crazy. And we planted beans around each and every corn in here. And those are coming up like crazy. Some of them are just now coming up. Some of them are already up and established. We've got half runners, and we have rattlesnake pole beans and Kentucky Wonders in here. And then squash on the outer edges. Delicata, red curry, butternut, all kinds of squash, and they're all looking fantastic. The red curries are actually already getting runners on them. They're a lot faster than some of the other squash varieties. And we have Tahitian squash as well. And those are looking amazing. Look at all that corn. And our containers over here are doing, they're knocking it out of the park. We've got eggplants. These are the Black Beauty eggplants, and they are getting absolutely huge now. Lemon Boy tomatoes. We've got a couple of pots of cucumbers. These are straight 8 cucumbers, I believe. And some super sauce tomatoes and some black cherry tomatoes. And then we've got 5 new containers of the Big Bubba's okra. And then we have our dahlia back here. We did plant a bunch more tubers. They did not come up, only the one did. And then a bunch of tomatoes back there, yellow pear tomatoes, and our now about 5 feet tall cilantro that is blooming finally. And the other one's pretty tall as well, getting about 3.5, 4 feet. And all of our tomatoes in there are looking amazing. And tomatillo. And then there is a broccoli in there as well, and I believe that's a purple sprouting broccoli. And it is just looking amazing. And then we have the distressed Gerbera daisy that we picked up. Turns out it is pink. Surprise! We didn't know what color it was going to be until it bloomed. So that means that it is nice and healthy now. And we have some coleus in there with it, which is looking beautiful. And then we have a super sauce tomato over here looking absolutely fantastic, getting nice and big. And also just look at our beans and the onions. These onions are getting really super big now. So hopefully we'll get some really nice onions this season. We are keeping the soil down with an onion hoe. Look at all those containers. And then we have peppers and we have ground cherries. Peppers and ground cherries looking amazing, getting bigger. And here is the flower. And I believe it is a stalk that has went to bloom. And also seed. And here are the seeds. They look like little beans full of seeds. So we'll be collecting those. Our fennel is still just getting bigger and bigger. We have some sunflowers in there as well. Some alyssum and some red salvia. We still have some celery to either figure out a place for it to go or to get people to come pick it up. I don't know why they're so afraid of celery, but it seems that they are. But it's looking absolutely beautiful anyway, even in those little containers. And our orange mint looking amazing. And I've been basically giving out plants of those. We have our Rutgers tomatoes through here, also looking fantastic. They're blooming. They just got, everything here just got fertilized today. And our Black Prince tomatoes, also looking amazing. Getting huge. And look at all those peppers. The peppers are slow, but they're getting there. And we have a cucumber over there in a container. And we just replanted more cilantro, oregano, and a couple things in that container. Actually, we did it in a diamond format. And our couple of extra super sauce tomatoes looking fantastic. Or they may be black creme. I'm not sure. The labels kind of got mixed up towards the end. Either way, everything will taste good. And our tarragon still looking amazing. And our ground cherries. And our beautiful tomatoes over here. Red pear, Jubilee, and Cherokee purple. These guys are getting enormous. More peppers looking beautiful, and so are our garden towers. Everything in here is thriving. We have more strawberries coming on. And then our nasturtiums that we planted here in the back, behind this stump, you can see they look beautiful. And you can see the blooms on our Kennebec potatoes just starting. Our mini roses are blooming like crazy. We had to trellis them. Everything looking beautiful over here in our kiddie pools. Our tomatoes are looking amazing. We just trimmed back this Gerbera daisy. It's red. And it has some new blooms coming out already, and a coleus with it. Beautiful sunflowers. And our squash, it turns out, looks like it is a butternut. And it looks like a bush variety of butternut. These are some seeds that I had saved. So we're going to think that they're all the same, but who knows? Either way, it'll all taste good. And our cucumber that we planted the other day came up in the back over there, and it's looking beautiful, as well as our peppers on all the tomatoes. And we've got our red mini rose blooming right now. Everything just looking amazing. Tomatillos, strawberries. We picked strawberries yesterday. We got another pint of strawberries. Beautiful big strawberries. Look at all those tomatoes. And our watermelon, these are the Jubilee watermelons. They are getting huge now, guys. Just looking amazing. Getting runners on them. And so are our cantaloupes. Our cantaloupes are now blooming. Tomatoes are just getting huge. So are the tomatillos. And we actually found that we have a big tomatillo right now on this one back here. Our peppers are starting to get bigger in our containers. And look at these artichokes. Just crazy the amount of growth on them. And here's our cantaloupes that we just planted a few days ago. They're already up and taking off. And our eggplants are starting to get bigger now in this container. I went in and loosened the soil, so apparently that's what it needs, is this one gets packed down a little bit. So we'll come back in here and loosen up the soil again as it needs it. And we did plant along the back, along the fence, with some cucumbers and nasturtiums, and they are looking great. And then here's our herb garden, which also has some beans and celery. All of that is looking fantastic. So is our yellow chamomile, bee balm, salvia. And we planted more cucumbers in here yesterday, and those should be coming up very shortly. Everything looking amazing. And then we did plant along through here as well, across the walkway. And this is going to be our new cantaloupe and melon patch. Looking amazing. So again, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for notices on new videos as they come out, and we'll see you in the next one.